welcome back to my corner of the internet. I am Shannon, and today I've got a little video to share with you guys. Today we're going to be drinking some coffee and talking about the new Babysitters Club adaptation on Netflix. Now, at first thought, when I first had this thought to make this video, I was like, 38. It's a show for little girls. Or little boys. I'm sure all kids would love this. But the truth of the matter is that I'm sure many people my age, 30s, maybe even early 40s, late 20s, are going to relate to this because we grew up, a lot of us, especially us book-loving girls, reading the Babysitters Club novels by Anne M. Martin. For anyone who's unfamiliar, I'll just give you a sort of brief synopsis of the series, of which there are many books. But it's about a group of 5 girls, eventually 7 girls, who have the great idea to start a Babysitters Club, which is exactly what it sounds like. It was a way that parents could phone one number and reach a bunch of babysitters all at once. They had it very organized. They had a book with their schedules. They could tell the parents who was available and when, and set them up with reliable babysitters. And when I was like 10 years old, 9 years old, 11 years old, I wanted nothing more in this world than to be a part of that Babysitters Club. And Netflix just released a new adaptation. Not that this is the first adaptation. Nay. The first adaptation, at least that I know of, came in 1990, and it was also a TV show. It ran for 1 season, 13 episodes, and at the time it aired, I didn't have whatever channel it aired on. It was an American channel, and we didn't have it. But one day, I don't know where we were. We were out somewhere. And there, right before me, was the VHS copy of all of the episodes. And I lost my mind. I was so excited, and my mom bought it for me. And I watched it so many times that I could probably talk along with the characters in the shows. It was funny because I went to YouTube and I put in like 1990 Babysitters Club TV show, and I clicked on the first episode. They're all on Netflix, although I've also heard they're on Amazon if you're in America. They're not on Amazon Prime Canada, unfortunately, but I think if you're in America they are. And instantly, I was sitting on the floor. I started the first episode. The theme song came on. I was singing along with it. I didn't even know that I still knew the words, but that's how much I loved it. Then 5 years later, in 1995, they released a movie. The movie was fine. I was a little older then, so maybe I wasn't as into it as I would have been if that movie came out when I was younger. But I loved the TV show. And now Netflix has released their own version. And of course, as with anything, when something new is coming out, especially something so beloved as the Babysitters Club, you're nervous. You know, you're a little nervous at first. How's it gonna be? How's it gonna go? Goodness knows I had all of those thoughts. And I was just terrified that they weren't gonna do it justice, but they did. They did it so justice. And I felt silly, you know, telling my husband that I now have to frantically watch a TV show made for children. But I did. I watched all 10 episodes, and I can't wait for more. What Netflix managed to do was they took all the characters, and if you grew up on the Babysitters Club, there's a character that you related to, or a combination of characters. Everyone I knew who read the books had that. Like I was a Marianne. I was very much a Marianne with some Dawn tendencies thrown in. So if you're familiar, you'll know what I'm saying. And just, we all had those characters who we were. And then we also had those characters that we wished we were. And I think one of the things about the show was, as a young kid, we moved around a lot. You know, even within our own province, we moved around a lot, and that meant starting new schools a lot. And that was tough. You know, it's tough when you're young. And the girls in the Babysitters Club books were a constant, if that makes sense. When everything was always changing, they never changed. They were always there. They could be found within the covers of those books, and they were something you could rely on because they were always the same. And when you move around a lot as a kid, anyone else who's moved around a lot, I'm sure you can maybe relate or agree. Or maybe it's something that's just my personality type. But anyway, when there's a lot of change, especially when you're a kid and you have no control over the change happening in your life, you grab onto the things that are constant. And for me when I was little, it was the Babysitters Club. As I got older, books always remained that, but music became it too. But yes, the Babysitters Club. When I started the show on Netflix, it was like looking into the past while also looking into the present, which sounds silly, I know, but I just know those girls so personally in my heart, and getting to see them brought back to life on screen was amazing. And they didn't do it in a cheesy sort of way that sometimes family programming can be. What they did is they took so many familiar storylines that I read in the books back 20 plus years ago, 25 years ago. They took those storylines almost 30 years ago. Okay, hang on, sorry. They took those storylines. So when you're watching the episodes, they're familiar storylines, but with a modern day twist, and they tackle issues that are relevant to today, and they just handle things in such a way that is so intelligent but also accessible to children. And that is so important, and it's just so beautifully done, so beautifully done. And I'm so happy with it. I've got my daughter watching it too. Now she's almost 16 years old, but she's giving it a go because she saw how much I loved it. But she's a bit old for it. So unless you're like a young girl, or someone like me who grew up with these characters and these stories, and Anna and Martin, she's just the best. I probably wouldn't recommend it. Like, I wouldn't recommend any other 38-year-old who has no investment in these characters to watch it. You probably wouldn't get a lot out of it. But if you loved them, definitely check it out if you haven't, because maybe you're like, oof, I don't know how it's done. It's done beautifully. Another thing about the whole thing that I did want to touch on is I noticed as well that there's a 17-minute documentary up on Netflix as well. It's not in the Babysitters Club. Like, if you click on it, you won't find it in there. But if you search it, you'll find it, and it's called the Claudia Kishi Club. And she's one of the characters in the show, in the Babysitters Club. She was always that character that I always thought was so endlessly, effortlessly cool, and I always wanted to be like Claudia, but wasn't. And like I said, there's a 17-minute documentary. Claudia was a very interesting character in that, from what I can tell, she was one of the first Asian American characters that was kind of just a standalone character for young girls to admire and look up to. She was never the sidekick. She was very much a main character. And this documentary is so good. It's a bunch of Asian American creators talking about what Claudia meant to them when they were little girls. And it's beautiful. It's not very long. It's just beautiful to hear them talk about their experience with the books and with the character. And it's just so amazing how books and stories and the characters in those books and stories can become such huge, important parts of people's lives. And those girls were definitely that for me for years. And I'd go to the library and I'd check out a stack of the books. And I'd be done with all of them by the next week, ready to check out another stack. And luckily there was so many different ones waiting for me to discover. And when I ran out of new ones, I'd start rereading the old ones again because it was so good. And it helped anchor me. It helped anchor my heart to somewhere familiar. And that is so important when you're a kid and when you're an adult. And I have so many fond memories attached to those books and to those characters and those places. Like, I wanted to go to Stony Brook Middle School. And Alicia Silverstone is in the show. She plays Christy's mom. There's this kind of moment in, I think, the first episode where Christy's talking about her mom. It's a voiceover. Her and her mom are sitting on her bed, and the voiceover says, she might not have great taste in men, but when it comes to life, I guess she isn't totally clueless. Which is a little joke because, of course, Alicia Silverstone was in the movie Clueless as a star. And I loved that little nod. It made me laugh, truly. Anyway, you guys, this was just it. I loved watching it. I just wanted to tell you guys, in case you're like me and loved the stories and you're like, should I watch it? Should I not? Is it embarrassing for a 30-something or 20-something or 40-something year old to watch this show? It is not. And even if it was, who gives a hoot? Anyway, thank you so much for watching this. I'm putting this up instead of a vlog this week because I didn't get much footage over the past week, so I'm just gonna roll it into next week's vlog, and the Babysitters Club was the perfect excuse to film something different. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you had a great weekend, and stay safe, you guys. Bye.